Timea Lukasik is coming from Hungary, and she's working with drug-addicted young people. Elsie Adaev is coming from Poland, but originally from Chechnya. He came to Poland as a refugee, and now he stays in Poland and is working with the refugee community. And Andrei Georgescu is coming from Romania and is working with Roma people, he organized a special craft workshops and making very nice design things which are sold in many countries. So bringing a new living for Roma people and new meaning to Roma original folk craft, we can say. But they will say more about themselves. So I would like at the beginning, please, each of you, can you say just a couple of words of what you are doing, why, and what is it good for, maybe? So please, Elsie, start.
Okay. Okay, it's working. Good day, everyone. My name is Elsie. It's nice to be here.
Dialogue is a powerful
What I do is me and my friends and family were trying to continue the heritage, I could say, of my late father, Isa Adaev. He decided to build a place for Chechens who live in Warsaw and in Poland in general. He wanted to create with his friends a place where Chechens could gather together, spend time together, practice language and culture and traditions, and to create a place where Chechen people and Polish people would spend time together, like integrate in the best possible way. So at the beginning, this place was called Ośrodek Samopomocy Uchodźców Sintar, like self-help center, Sintar. And then after he passed away, we decided we will continue what he was doing, and we made from this cultural center like foundation, Sintar Foundation. And what we are doing right now, from the very beginning till today, we have two things we focus on and work on: education and integration. And these two are utmost important to us because we believe that through that two things we can make those people who come to Poland, the refugees, those who are living a little bit longer and those who are like here not from that long, they will be able to live a better life, better quality life, and integrate in a better way through these two things. And I am doing it. I am the president of the foundation at this moment, and me and my friends were doing it because it's important for us, as we have the same experience from the past. I remember what kind of troubles I had, what kind of struggles I was going through when I was in, how you say, podstawówka, like the first grade. Primary school, yes. I remember what I was going through in primary school after the, for example, World Trade Center attacks and terrorist attack, and like kids blaming me as I am Muslim for those terrorist attacks, having troubles almost every day. And I just want to create, me and my friends, we want to create a place where people who come here will not feel the same thing and will not go through the same thing, or if they will go through the same thing, they will know they have this one place that supports them, that will help them. And education, it's about the integrational part. The education part is, we firmly believe that through education we can build a future for our nation and for these kids and their families, and through education we'll help them to, as I said, integrate better. And it is very important, especially nowadays when there is a new wave of, I could say, hatred and like the aggression towards Muslim minorities. I don't know like much details about other countries, but I know what's happening in Poland, and even more important is to work on this right now, at this moment. Thank you. I hope I replied to your question.
So we use the pictures, right? Okay, so hello, my name is Andrei Georgescu. I'm from Bucharest, from Romania, and together with a few colleagues, we work with traditional Roma craftsmen from Romania. So I have 5 pictures, and I'm going to go through them and at the same time try to explain. So the first picture is from a few years ago on the celebration of International Roma Day, which is on the 8th of April. And this was in the center of Bucharest. And so the next day there were supposed to be the events, and they just put up a huge tent there for a concert and exhibition. And it was vandalized overnight, and what it says there in green, it says "Death to all Roma." Yeah, but I mean gypsy, so even the more, the very pejorative term. And I mean, of course, you would say, yeah, but this is, I mean, there are isolated events of hate, yeah, still happening in Europe everywhere. What it was really sad, and then it became like outrageous for me, is that, so all the news outlets picked up this event, but then I started to read the comment section, you know, in all of this news, and I was, I don't know, shocked to see that actually the vast majority of Romanians were supporting this kind of hate speech. They didn't find anything wrong with it, and this is the reality in Romania right now. I'm not sure, but I think it's also very present in Hungary and some other Central Eastern European countries. And in the second picture is what I think is the main reason that is leading to this kind of hatred and misunderstanding, is that most people in Romania, when they think about Roma, they either think, oh, they're really rich and they have these huge palaces or whatever, and they don't pay taxes on them, or they are begging. Yeah, so these are the two types of reality that people in Romania see about Roma. And then, of course, there's always, everybody says, oh, but also I had a friend when I was growing up, which was Roma, and he was okay, but everyone else, you know, it's either a thief or a beggar. So, of course, this is completely untrue, because the vast majority is in between, but it's just invisible. So, the third picture is what we're doing mainly. So we had this idea that, you know, Roma in Romania, they identify themselves, most of them, through their craft. So they would say, I'm a coppersmith, I'm a, I don't know, silversmith, not necessarily I'm a Roma, but so they really, the craft is very strongly related to the personal identity. And so our idea was, what if we work with the craft to create new products that, you know, you would use today and really want to buy because of the product, not because of the story behind. And so we approached a bunch of product designers from Europe and invited them to come to Romania and do design and do the products. And so this was one of the first meetings, and I really love it because this is a traditional broom making family. Yeah, they've been doing brooms from generations to generations, and currently it's really hard to sell brooms, the natural fiber brooms in Europe. Yeah, because you have the plastic brooms or you have just vacuum cleaners now on the streets as well. So of course they can't make the brooms anymore. And And then we have two product designers from Austria, which are really big. I mean, the woman here in the close left side of the picture, she's the former creative director of Georg Jensen and Swatch. I mean, she's really big, but she does this pro bono, and it's a great experience of working together. And then in the next picture, it's another photo also with Nadia and Peter, and this is Victor, and you can see that he's, he was challenged to do something different, not the traditional palinka and rakia making pots that they're traditionally doing. And so we made this new collection of copper handcrafted products, which were even exhibited in New York and everywhere in Europe. And it was, for him, to come to Vienna and see his work, this was an unbelievable event in his life. And then this was, you can go to the last picture. This is the chance of real interaction. People are coming and they see the products, and through the products they interact with the people that are really producing them. And a lot of them are very, very surprised to find out about these Roma craftsmen. We have, I don't know, more than 100,000 of them in Romania, and they produce a lot of stuff every day. It's really hard for them to make a living, today in today's economy, but they're there, and they are the invisible Roma. And so, yeah, we're trying to become, to make them the most visible Roma, not the invisible ones. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, hi everyone. I am Timi from Hungary, and I'm happy to destroy one stereotype of my husband that women talk a lot, because I promise that I will be short. And why? Because I think that, first of all, the title that we are heroes, I speak in my name, of course, that I think I am very far away to be a hero, and I think real heroes are out on the street and not sitting in this beautiful hotel now. And the second thing, that 25 years ago I knew about Slovakia only that they had also very nice and great poppy fields as Hungary. And me, as an ex-opiate addict, I had very strong connection with the poppy and, of course, the opium and morphine. And I'm glad that 21 years ago I could come out of my addiction in a rehab. So what I think and why I apply to be here is that addiction doesn't care what's your religion, gender, political interest, anything, anyone, all of us, anyone can be addicted of anything, and I think you know it. So I feel that this is a topic in which we are really all the same. And why I don't want to speak a lot, because for these 2 days I will be here, and I'm very open to any discussion or conversation if some of you are interested in how we work on the therapy field nowadays, when the new psychoactive substances, these designer drugs, we call in Hungary designer drugs, are extremely popular. Our youngest client in the rehab is 12 years old. He started to use when he was 9, and it's quite often. And unfortunately, I can say, I know it's not very optimistic, but that it seems like this is the future. So we have a lot of applicants to the rehab, and they are really very, very young. And about half of them are Roma children, because these drugs are very, very cheap, and this is what they can choose to use. So I would like to show you, it's a surprise, Zuzza doesn't know, anyone doesn't know that I brought, it's just a very little thing without too much words. I make a note, because we use rock climbing as an adventure therapy, but this rope is not for climbing. And Andrei, can I ask you to give me one finger, keep it straight and strong, really? Maybe we can stand up and then everyone will see. Thank you so much. I give you the note to see that I will not cheat you or anything, and please keep it straight, strong. So I give you the freedom to imagine what it can be, this rope, anything. We use words like stereotypes, conflict, blah, blah, blah. You can think what you want. So tick, tick, tick. It seems more difficult. This is what we have. I think this is the important. Thank you, Angeli. Okay, I said thank you. No, it's. I can teach you. It's very easy. Thank you.
We show other pictures.
Pictures, I think, speak of them about themselves. I mean, it's very, very.
This is you.
It's me about, I don't know how many years ago, 20-something years ago, yeah. You want me to explain? Okay, it's just we use a lot, but I think it's not new information for you that we use art as therapy. So we are painting, drawing, and any way of artistical stuff what we can use with children in the rehab. Also outdoor things. So nowadays I'm happy to say that I think it's well known among people who are interested what's going on in a rehab. So we use creative arts, rock climbing, hiking. We have never been yet in Slovakian Tatra mountains, but I hope we can come. And yeah, symbols also nice too. And it just okay, one sentence about this photo that whom you see on the photo here, that boy gave permission to show this photo. Of course, we always ask them. He finished the therapy program, and now he went to a second level, like a halfway house, before he's really going back to the society to live as a sober ex-drug addict. And when he came to the rehab, he had a really big face, and he said that he climbed a lot of mountains and everything. And then when I asked him, so please help me, I forgot how to make this note on the rope to be safe, really safe. And then slowly he was, on his face, he was really honest, and I saw that he doesn't know any notes, anything, so it was just really from the drugs, the big ego, and it was so nice, the humbleness, yeah, pokora, I think it's humbleness to when he asked, okay, Timmy, please help, because I don't want to fall down from the rocks. So it was a nice development, but thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot. My first question then would be whether you really face kind of rejection or questioning from the side of majority population in your country, and how you cope with it, how you react to the questioning of the purpose or the target group you are working with, whoever.
You come because people will be bored by my voice. It's your turn.
So the question was, do we get rejected in what we
Polish
do?
majority, how do you react when somebody in Poland tells that you are Muslim, you are
Okay.
the refugees should come back home because Chechnya is safe country already,
Yeah.
of course.
The thing is that I've been going through this for 18 years now, so at some point I decided I just don't care about like this kind of stuff that people are saying to me, like go back to your country or you're dangerous or this or that. But it was, but to to come with this decision and like be strong with it and like saying, okay, I don't care, I'm more than this. It's much harder because from time to time, this kind of situations happens to me. For example, I can say for myself at this moment, and it's really hard then. Like just as an example, I'll just tell you a short story. We were having I met some people at McDonald's. I was waiting for my friends. I sat down alone by my table, and some people, different people, just started joining in, like asking, can I sit here to eat? And we all started talking, and the atmosphere was really great. And like at the moment where everyone started introducing themselves, I said, my name is Elsie, and they were like, oh, are you Polish or no? I said, I'm not, no, I'm from Chechnya. And they said, oh, that's so cool. And we started talking, and like, they asked me a lot of things about Islam, about Chechnya, about situation, this and that. And everything was great. And then there was this one girl that joined the table, and she was a friend of a girl who was like waiting for her, and we were all having fun and everything. And then this girl's like, there's this girl that joined, and her friend that was with us started like introducing to her all of us. And she said everyone's name. Everyone was Polish, and when she said my name, like this girl that came in just asked her, "Are you Polish?" I said, "No, I'm from Chechnya." And then she like used swear words and this and that, and like get back where you're coming from, you terrorist, smug, and this kind of stuff. And everyone is like dead silent, shocked, like what just happened. And the most like shocking part for me was that she said it with like no like facial expression at all, no anger, no. It was just something so simple for her, just to tell me that, just this and that. I don't want to repeat the exact words because it's not good. And I just decided, okay, I don't want to like be around this place anymore. I will just go away. And but like she left not only me but everyone else, like those Polish like colleagues, and like shocked by just what just happened. So this kind of situation happens to me from time to time, not very often. I don't have this general problem because I'm even sometimes whiter than my Polish friends, and though people don't recognize me on the streets that I'm from Chechnya or I'm Muslim. Only when I start talking by phone, then they like realize, okay, he's not from here. But quite often, nothing happens bad. But when it happens, it like I still like can't understand why I feel so shocked and why I'm moved. But it happens. But there is a big problem for my friends. I have my colleagues, girlfriends who are Muslims. One of them wears hijab, the others don't. And those girls who have like wear the headscarf are often find themselves in a situation where people are aggressive towards them, like physically aggressive, or just the atmosphere ruins when they enter to the tram or bus or restaurant. This kind of stuff often happens, and this is like where I come in and my friends from our Sinter Foundation and try to comfort those people, try to just reassure them that this kind of thing will happen everywhere because there are hateful people everywhere, and just to make them feel comfortable in where they're living. But the rejection from the general society, like the atmosphere, there's two layers of this thing. One is media, news outlets and Facebook and all other like YouTube and this kind of platforms, media platforms. And the other one is everyday life, right? So on everyday life, we can easily say that vast majority of Polish society doesn't do harm to people who are on, like, have different skin color, different wear, I don't know, outfit and this and that. And there are small group of hateful people who will attack on the streets. And I'm not saying that there is no problem. There is a problem, and there is increasing problem from the last 2 years. And more the racially profiled attacks are happening, and religious profile attacks are happening. But like the society offline is not as aggressive and hostile. But what is happening online on Facebook and YouTube, this is dangerous.
Get back to that.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know.
Well, I mean, of course, I get very often the question, like, why? So some people ask, why do you work with Roma craftsmen and not Romanian craftsmen? This is the first question, because we do a lot of efforts anyway, and we have positioned ourselves very well at least in the Romanian market. And I mean, we do work with some Romanian, very few, a couple of Romanian, one Hungarian, one Ukrainian craftsmen. But the vast, I mean, 18 of them are Roma. And my answer always, because they expect some sort of, I think people expect for you to just victimize, yeah, the vulnerable groups. And what I always say is that we work with them because they're the best at what they do, and which is true. So this is one question that I receive very often. And then secondly, I mean, because I work with a lot of Roma people, of course, people are starting to ask me about, and very easily generalize, but why do Roma marry their daughters so early, or why do this, why do that, which is actually always very isolated events. And anyway, I mean, I can't talk in the name of Roma, I can't talk in the name of Romanians, and I can't talk in the name of, I don't know, white people or Europeans. I mean, everybody, you know, does what they want to do. I can talk about myself and my choices, and I work with Roma craftsmen because they have this amazing talent, and I think because we can do really valuable products, and because they need a voice, you know, they need somebody to take them and put them in the spotlight. So, yeah, I think that's it.
I quite often face, and it I think did not change in the last 15 or 20 years, that people often ask, why do our money, I mean taxes, spend for treatment of addicted people? Because if it's their decision, why did they start to use alcohol, drug, anything? So this is the main question, which, you know, I very often and still I face that that addictions are not treated as a disease but like a hobby or a passion or, I don't know, fun. And so maybe this is the main thing. And the second is that the background that, for example, in my case, many people whom I get to know since I'm sober in the last years do not think about my past. And when I say my story, I come from a very average family, and I mean that not any real big trauma happened with me when I was a child or a teenager. And this also shows that it's a huge stereotype that only from problematic families can come out this kind of problem. And what I think it's also important in our societies, that what we show to the others. For example, that from outside everyone thought that I grew up in a very nice family with my younger brother and everything was fine. And because I have learned from my parents that we have to show this to the society, that we are okay. And that thing that, for example, I have never seen them, my mother and father, to kiss each other or any one thing, I mean, emotion, it sounds like it's not so important, but I think there are very important things like that, what we show, how it from outside, how our families, our communities looks like, but what is deep inside, I think it's hidden very often, and that is the point.
So what do you say to people when they ask you why my tax money should go to the drug addicts?
I say, first of all, what I like a lot, Andrei, what you said, that we can speak, I think, of in our names. And I say, listen, I can tell you my story, and I can tell you what I think about it. And of course, I can speak about my experience of 20 years, that how many, you know, people, how many families are affected. And I think it's like a disease of the society, and it's not the disease of the individual. Because we are. The individuals are somehow the members of the society. So it's not always easy conversation.
I see. So, but at least Elsie and Timmy, you went to your social work through your own experience, being on the side of the vulnerable group or marginalized group. So did this experience help you to understand better the target group you are working with, the problems of people, but at the same time the problems they are facing with the majority? Is it like it is different when you were in the position of drug addicted than to address them and work with them?
Of course. I mean, a few years ago, I got my degree as a social worker, but it was never so important for me than my experiences. But what I think it's very important that the team where I am working, we deeply believe that the multidisciplinary team is very important, not only ex-addicted, but also people in the team who had never have any kind of addiction problem, because I really believe in this, that we need different viewpoints and different opinions, and this is how the main topic, how we can deal with it. But so I do not agree if never say that okay, it's just experienced professionals can work on this field.
My experience, it may sound strange, but today I am grateful that I went through all the, my little personal hell when I was younger, because today when I work with kids in refugee centers and in schools, I know what they're going through, I know what they're feeling and what they're thinking, and I know also the surroundings of those kids. I know what the kids from schools, for example, think about those refugee kids, and I can understand what they're all going through, and this helps me a lot because there are different types of reacting to the hatred those kids, refugee kids, receive. One decide to hide hide and not to go outside, or in school or when they're after school. The other ones decide to aggressively fight against aggression towards them, and in each of those cases, what I do is that I go to those kids who are having this hard time, and I talk with them and I show them that hiding will not solve the problem, or fighting in defense, although I absolutely understand what they're going through and I feel them and I know what's going on, the aggression also will not help. And with every kid I have this personal program, let's say, and the things we go through, we talk, we discuss, we try to find solutions. And the same, my colleagues and my friends from foundation, they work, for example, my sister often work with girls because they don't want to talk with me about everything. So then my sister goes in, or my mom, or my female friends from Sindar, and we try to approach every kid personally, not as a group, but every one of them has their own story. And also, which is very important, we do not forget to go to schools and talk with parents and those Polish kids and their parents, and explain them where these kids are coming from, what kind of story they're going through, what happened in their life, in the life of their families, all the crises they're going through. And the most important thing I believe in what I do with those kids and Polish kids and refugee kids is to try to build a bridge between them so they can meet at the center and talk with each other, understand, ask questions, even if they don't agree on some topic. The most important thing is that they talk with each other or in a respectful manner and discuss instead of fighting or insulting each other. So my own experience helped me a lot to help those kids, and I'm grateful. I know it might sound strange, but I'm grateful that I went through it, as it helps me to help those kids.
Wonderful. Andre, how did you come to work with Roma craftsmen? Was it like by purpose, or was it by chance, or how it happened?
So, up until 2010, I have never had any interaction with Roma culture, to be honest. I mean, like everyone, I had a friend when I was growing up, or a colleague which was Roma. No, it was by chance. I was invited by a company to do a series of events and concerts, exhibitions across Romania about Roma culture. But when I mean I mean the logistic part. Yeah, I was an event organizer, and that's how I came into contact for a couple of years with a lot of craftsmen from all over the country, and then the founder of this movement, of all these events, is a Roma activist himself, and he's an anthropologist. And then he had this idea of what if we would start a network to help the craftsmen sell their products. And then he asked me if I wanna do this. And so, yeah, and it seemed really interesting, because I didn't want to just sell the products. It seemed really interesting to try and reinvent, the products and approach the market in a very commercial way, and not focus on vulnerability. This is really important for me, because this is what we are doing differently, at least in Romania, is that we really, really emphasize the value. And we're actually, by the way, we're also selling to IKEA, like thousands of products, and that they sell in about 50 stores, and it's going to grow next year to 100. So, I mean, you can really go from cottage industries, like from one craftsman working at home. That product can reach a global market if they are empowered somehow. So it was a very interesting thing. That's why, for me, it was because it was not such a personal thing for me. It became personal once I became really close with all of the people that I work with, and now, I have a very personal interaction with the people that we work with, the craftsmen and their families and the grandchildren and everyone. So this is a great way of doing it.
There is one more interesting point in what you're saying. What about the majority or the surrounding of these craftsmen? Because you were mentioning in previous talk that people asking why you don't work with Romanians, you work with Roma. It often happens that when you work with minority, then the majority will ask, come on, why you don't help us? Because we are also poor. We also need help and to promote our crafts work to be sold by IKEA. Why this Roma? Why not us?
Even the people, because we work, for example, about IKEA, we work with IKEA in Sweden, with the global, but of course the buying, the purchasing and the contracts are done through IKEA Romania. And the people in IKEA Romania are saying, but maybe we should think about it in a couple of years, maybe we put some Romanian ceramics there, and say, of course we're going to do it. I mean, we want to do it, but the idea is that, we started with the idea of the Roma craftsmanship because it's so connected to the identity, There's no threat that if, I don't know what, Romanian ceramics disappear, the Romanian identity will disappear. But when you have such small groups and scattered around countries or different countries, Yeah? And you can have a Roma group in Romania which doesn't have anything in common, almost anything in common with a Roma group from another part of Romania, and these people have more in common with a Roma group from Hungary. So then if the identity disappears, then it's... So that's why we thought, yeah, and we also thought that it would be a really important thing for the Roma craftsmen, and that they will take it very seriously, which it happened. I mean, they really see the value of doing this, of working, because it's not easy to develop a new product and to be able to do it at really big quality and things like this. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, we don't discriminate. That's also very important. So we don't say, no, we only work with Roma, because this is also, I think, it's not such a good approach. I was actually talking to Elsie yesterday evening because he was telling me what he's doing and how they could get more support from, like, not just from Chechnya and people related to Chechens. And the idea is that he's actually working with other migrants or refugees. So then there you have it. You know, we all should work, also help other vulnerable people which are facing almost the same problems. And I think it's also your case, right?
I'm just saying yes, because for me it's in brackets so funny, or not funny, but I mean you will understand when alcohol addicts and drug addicts are fighting that you are alcoholic, no, you are a fucking junkie, and these things, and what's going on. So yeah, this topic is very, very relevant in our case also. And one thing, if I can add about questions from the majority, that, for example, in Hungary, and I don't want to go in deep politics because I leave it for more clever people. I am really anti-talent in politics, but because I am in practice field as a social worker and as a helper. But the harm reduction in itself got a lot of attack, and some foundation had to stop their activities, for example, because a part of the city, I mean Budapest, local people thought that there will be more addicted or more drug users if in their place existing a harm reduction center where they can make the needed exchange. And it's, you know, it's totally not about this. So, and doesn't mind they had statistics and anything, and so it's a hard case to change the minds.
I see. You wanted to add something?
Come again? Sorry. I was just listening. No, I was just listening, and it's quite interesting what you have to say, so, yeah.
Okay, I would give a floor now to the audience. If you want to ask or comment something of what our guests were saying, so please, now is the time.
And please feel free to ask any questions, actually, so there's no stupid questions.
Dangerous. He's really not dangerous.
Yeah, she is far more dangerous than both of us together. If you will not ask, I will choose you, and the one I choose have to ask you. That's my way always when I go to when I go to schools and have meetings with people, and they're like high school kids or students from universities, and when I talk and like I see on the faces of those kids, they want to ask questions, but there is always this, I don't want to be the first one, I'm waiting till someone else. And then I say, okay, we're not going to do that. You ask me a question, you ask me a question, and then everything gets alive. So, you are smiling all the time. What's your question, my friend? Ask us anything. Oh, here we have. You're saved.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to ask a question, and thank you to all of the panel speakers. My name is Hajar, the only Muslim hijabi in the room. I like to always address the elephant in the room.
Of course.
Not that I look like one, but you know. I guess you talked about heroism, and And that's really inspiring, actually. And we always shall be humble, I think, from a faith perspective. We look up, being humble as one of, the core values. But sincerely, I think the fact that you have, come out here and you have addressed, and don't underestimate the power of the words that you have, I guess, portrayed or reflected today. So I think the everyday hero can be sitting in a conference room like today, and I do want to give that back to you, sincerely. I'm a humanitarian aid worker, so I understand that day-to-day grind. That was the first thing I really wanted to highlight. I think you touched Elsie,
Yes.
sorry, I'm not going to get the names right,
Cheers.
on the Muslim women's perspective. And I know you probably can't elaborate as much as I would be able to elaborate, maybe, but it would be really interesting to hear more about maybe the Eastern European perspective. I come from Dublin, Ireland, so I'm on the other side, if you like. And for me, that's always been an extremely interesting thing. But all of your work is incredible. The innovation as well has been very, very inspiring. So I'd just like to hear a bit more on that, if you could elaborate.
Of course. So just so we're clear, you're asking me about the situation of girls and women who in Muslim communities in Poland right now. Yes. Okay. So, as I said, I have friends who are Muslim who wear headscarves, and those who don't, and those who wear, like my friend Zuhra or other girls, there's this big problem because people are afraid, and because of the media and the way media works and the way they portray Muslims, and sometimes unwillingly, sometimes with not bad intention, but the kind of messaging is so grew into the society so much that someone like unwillingly even shows Muslims as in a bad perspective, and people are honestly afraid when they see girl with headscarf. They're afraid when they see any man with long beard and who has darker skin, and but for me the most troubling is the situations where there is this aggression, like verbal or physical aggression towards the girls, because they're most vulnerable, and people are not that afraid to go and be aggressive towards girl than to be aggressive towards men. And just so we clear also, I'm not saying that this kind of situation happens hundreds times a day on every possible street in every city, no, but there are more often than there were 2 years ago, when the public debate and political debate about Islam took over as a way to gain political support for some people, and you could hear more often news and hot discussions and screamings on TV of politicians using Muslims as a way to make their own political benefit. And people and the examples, 99% of the time the examples were bad, about bad people, about bad situation, about terrorist attacks, about danger of extremism and this, and people started to hear this, and they started I see a Muslim, I see terrorism, I see danger. And but the most vulnerable group of Muslim society in Poland are women and children, and I would love to have for right now my sisters or my other friends who are Muslims, and they could elaborate more on the topic, because I don't know everything they're going through. But as far as as much as I can say is that they're most vulnerable, and there is this imagery of Muslims in scarves, or like it's like Muslim terrorists, and this is one of the main things we have to fight with and fight against, and especially to how to say, to make media people like newsletters, newspapers, TVs, and their representatives just aware that they're doing harm, sometimes unknowingly, sometimes with no bad intention, but after just for example, so I don't like take it forever, when there are some terrorist attacks, right? We could often hear about people who are supporting this, like, oh, this is good that this happened. Some religious leaders, self-made religious leaders, but in Islam, like saying this is what these people have to suffer for a greater good, and this and that, and this negativity was found coverage on the prime time. But universities, schools, I don't know, research institutes, Muslim communities, writing open letters condemning terrorist attacks, doing like literally like supporting those families of those who were killed or injured by raising money, doing everything they can to condemn in any possible way what happened. This did not almost absolutely find any coverage in the most biggest media. On Facebook, yeah, you could find something. On Instagram, yeah, maybe YouTube. But the news, like the 6 main station, which has the biggest reach to the population, or like you couldn't find anything about it. So that goes there. Sorry for my English.
Hello, I'm Franz Kutombo. I'm from Hungary, living in Hungary, but you see I'm black, but it means I'm originally from Congo, DRC, but living more than 21 years in Hungary. I have a question to Georgescu about the Roma integration. The most problem actually in Europe is refugees problems and migration problems and integration problems. Sometimes they say that we don't want migrants because they will not get integrated in the community. But we have also heard more about Roma problems that they don't want to be integrated. With your work, how you see or how you can realize the integration aspect with what you are doing of Roma. Or also my other question is, I can see that you are really successful with your project. What is the secret of that? Because sometimes they say that Romas, they are more difficult to handle. They are nomad and they go, they don't want to work. So there is many stories that we hear about. How can you keep them and for a long time and to make these projects sustainable for a long time?
Well, thank you for the question. First of all, I've never met a nomad Roma in Romania. I've just never. Of course, it used to happen, yeah, but it's not a current thing. Then, when it comes to integration, I mean, you have to understand the first thing. Again, I will talk about Romania because this is the reality that I know best. But I'm just guessing from what I heard, Hungary is facing very similar problems. So, for example, in Romania, up until about 160 years ago, the Roma were enslaved in the southern and eastern part of the country, so except for Transylvania. But even there, they didn't have such a, they were not first-class citizens, let's say, they didn't have the full rights. But especially in the south, south and east, they belonged to the church or to some boyars, yeah, big landowners. That's actually one of the reasons why they became so clustered into craft groups in Romania, because they were forced to settle in certain areas and produce certain products for the church. The Orthodox Church was in Romania the biggest slave owner, yeah, in case you didn't know. And they were, now the way we work with the craftsmen, it's a very simple and very straightforward work. I mean, we've never encountered any kind of difficulties. I mean, I've heard also a lot of stories, but I mean, yeah, it's just a normal exchange of most of the time professional exchange, yeah. But with some of the people that I've worked with for 4 years now, it's a very personal relationship. I think our work, I think, was successful because we didn't come to a community or somebody's house and we said, we're going to fix all your problems. Because that can't, I mean, you can't do it. You can't have this arrogance. But we said, we want to build a product with you. Would you be willing to work with us? This is what we would like to create, and then we want to sell it, and yeah, you produce it, you get paid when you deliver the product, yeah, you don't take any risks. So it was a very honest and clear partnership, and we always keep our word, which is very important for people which have been in a vulnerable state for a long time, because a lot of them, especially politicians, are abusing their vulnerable state. And actually in Romania, it's almost like a strategy, that they keep certain communities in a very, right at the line of poverty, so that every 4 years when you have elections, you come and give something, and then they will vote for the same people over and over again. And if I move to a more systemic thing in terms of integration, I think that the biggest problem is education, or the lack of it, but lack of access to education. I get this question a lot, like why don't the children stay in school, you know, for 10 years? Because you have the biggest dropout rate by far. It's like, I don't know, it's much higher than the average of the country in the Roma communities. And also these people, they say, because school is free, so why don't they just go to school? And then you just have to understand, you have to just take a step back and think about it and realize you can't go to school if when you get to school you are discriminated, or people, I mean, even the teachers, they treat you in a bad way. Your colleagues, everybody, yeah, they have this hostility that they learn at home, and it's a systemic thing again. You know, even when I was growing up, like the worst thing that could happen to you, you know, your parents would tell you, if you don't behave, we're going to give you to the gypsies. This is something that it's not just in Romania, and it happens today. Some parents say this. Can you imagine? I mean, how do you expect that child to not have some sort of prejudgment, yeah, when they grow up? So then you have this systemic thing. Yeah, you go to school as a child and you get verbally abused sometimes, or mistreated by your teachers. Then anyway you live, most of the ones in the rural environment, they live in right at the level of poverty, so you can't really afford to buy your books, or you don't really have nice clothes, so then people are making fun of you. And then when you reach 14 or 16, you kind of have to already start contributing to your family, because you're old, yeah, and you have to work. Your family can't support you anymore when you're at that age. So then you have to go to work every day. So you can't go to school, and you have to when you have to go to work. So it's a vicious circle that needs to be broken, but it can't be broken in just one point and then it will be fixed. So we need to go everywhere. So we are working on employment, yeah, basically for the craftsmen, but we work only with skilled people. So we don't, only recently we've started training some people, but mainly we work with skilled people. And also now we have a strategy that in a couple of years we want to start giving some scholarships to the children from the communities where we produce. We can't afford now, but we want to do this. And these are two things, but then you have a lot of other things. And you know, everybody wants to integrate, but we have to think about the difference between integration and assimilation. It's very different. So of course everybody wants to integrate. Of course everybody wants to have a proper house and access to education and healthcare and everything. Yeah, that's integration. And have a job and have a steady income and plan their holidays and I don't know, and have have money for the foreseeable future and things like this. But then the discussion about assimilation, that's different, and I would rather not go into that because I'm not comfortable, because I think everybody has a different point of view, and I think different people have a different point of view about themselves. Me, I don't believe in countries. I think it's a stupid thing. I think Brexit is the stupidest thing in the world. So I'm not the one to talk about assimilation, so yeah.
Thank you. Timmy.
Just really one thing to add to this topic, that, for example, since I'm working in this teenage treatment center, because in Hungary there are only 3 centers for teenager drug users, and they are quite new, because you know it's a new field that they start to use so young. And I wanted to tell that what often happens, that from a very, very poor village, we got some information from other NGOs that there are Roma children who are using drugs, but their parents are really don't even think about that it's possible for their children to go to a beautiful treatment center, which was, you know, a new building built by EU funds, and it's something unbelievable thing that it can happen. And this is when we need volunteers who are working on that field, and they can sometimes really physically, they go by car and they bring them to the treatment center, because if they are just calling and we say, yes, you are very welcome, the door is open, it's no way that they will come. Some of them, the most actual problem, for example, is this, that they have never slept apart from the family, from their mother. And now it's a quite new thing. We just spoke on with the supervisor that we will need to open rooms for mothers, and it can happen. I think we didn't have it before in the drug treatment centers, that now we have to think about it, that we offer place for families to come and maybe stay for 1 week until the child will see that, yes, he or she can stay in the place. So these are also new things and new topics what we have to deal with.
Thank you very much. So, next comment, question, please, here.
Hi, my name is Jana Randa, and I would like to ask, I'm a bit puzzled with the size of your actions, Andrei, that you were saying that you distribute to IKEA's the products and so on, and I would be just curious about how much are actually still involved, the people, like the craftsmen, like how do you do it so they are still part of something as big as it grew, so.
So, I mean, the approach is still really, really hands-on. I mean, there's no huge production units or things like this. So, we work with craftsmen that work from their own small workshops. In some cases, we've helped them build it. So, like a small annex to the house. We work with about 20 people, 20 craftsmen, and then for IKEA, because there is a really, really high quality standard. I mean, not the perceived quality for the customer, but the processes that go into it. Because it's a huge corporation, they want to know that in case some journalist, you know the scandals, yeah? Somebody says, oh, IKEA is abusing Roma in Romania making products. They want to make sure that, you know, anyone can go and trace it all the way back to the production, and everything is very nice. So we have one workshop where we produce especially for IKEA, and this is where we have right now 4 people employed. And this is a separate thing. So it's like a separate workshop. It's very state-of-the-art, but still everything is hand-produced, every item. So they're all a tiny bit different, like half a millimeter. There's not much tolerance. So I don't know. And otherwise, you know, we meet. I mean, I go there every month. So I mean, visit most of the craftsmen. Some of them are in Bucharest, which is very useful. So they can come to our shop, and we meet once a year, all of us in the shop in Bucharest. So that it's important that because they are really involved in the design. Yeah, we never send a sketch and say this is a new product. So it's always hands-on design, and this is actually something really valuable that we offer also to these designers, because most of them are pro bono. So, for example, they would come from Vienna or from Sweden, and they work there, and it's something really amazing for a designer to be able to see your product materialize in front of you in the same day. This is so then it's a very hands-on design process, and then we have an original. That's the craftsman has one, we have one, the shop has one. And then we just place orders. And when they produce, we pay, we get the products in stock. So we work with small stocks. And on average, they get about half of the price that you would pay in our shop in Bucharest, and about 25% of the price that you would pay in Vienna or Berlin, for example, because for that we have different collections. We work with resellers which take 30%, the state takes VAT 20%, so then that's why we are left with half, and half of the half goes in production. So I don't know, but it's a very family-like business. And it's a social business. I mean, everybody gets fair payment. I don't know, the holidays, whatever, everything is very relaxed. You are the employers, or they are still like self? So this is also, because we wanted to give full flexibility, everybody has a different form of working with us. So we have some people which are just employed on a standard labor contract, working 8 hours a day, and they have to be in, even if it's the workshop next to their house and we are not there, they have to be during that time there and work, yeah, in case of any kind of anyway, for the accounting and everything, yeah. But we actually, most of them are suppliers, so they have their own personal authorization. I don't know how you translate it, and they can sell. So they can sell to companies, and then they buy the raw material, they produce, and they sell it to us. This was also really interesting and really important for us to find a way of working with different kind of craftsmen, because you have people like the silversmiths, which have been, I mean, they're really good salespeople. They go to all kind of fairs and they sell a lot of jewelry. And so they, of course, have a huge organization in Bucharest, and so all of them are affiliated, and this organization sells on behalf of them, so invoices on behalf of them. So they are really organized, yeah, the silversmiths. But then you would have the weavers that work with wicker or rattan, or the woodworkers, the wood carvers, which really, they don't have any formal education. Most of them were like 2-3 years of formal education, so they really couldn't manage even a tiny company, like doing accounting and things like this. So with them, we had to set up small organizations for them. So that's why it's really different, and we just wanted to see how people prefer to work in the end. Yeah.
Thank you. Is there, okay, we can take 2 more questions. The gentleman here and the lady over there, then, and we will answer them together. Please.
Yes, my question would be to Timmy, as a fellow Hungarian and a fellow addict or ex-addict. I also had a few addicts in my family, like none of my uncles are nor living or not addicted at the moment, so my family is hugely influenced by this social disease, as you called it. And my question would be, is there a way for you to give some kind of protection, or not protection, but help your clients, or how should I call a teenager, to be prepared for after getting out of your therapy center, after partly done, being done with the therapy and being partly done with the addiction part, how to face the discrimination story. I mean, do you organize some kind of events for people who already left the centers, or do you do any kind of community building, or is it, I don't know if that's even possible, even if you have the capacities for doing this, but this is just a question.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's take 1 more question behind.
I keep in mind.
Hello, my name is Katarina. I am from Slovakia, and I would like to ask a question, especially to Tima and Elsie. What was or how is your inner process of accepting rejection from the majority?
Thank you very much.
Okay.
You answer first. I want to record.
So first for the first question, and thank you, Balint. I was thinking that in the coffee break I will also ask you some questions. That so you use the word protect. I do not believe that we can protect these youngsters, but to prepare them to be more brave and to make decisions, I think, and choose ways. Because me, myself, I'm the only one person in the team in a Christian rehab who did not have baptism. I do believe in God, but I cannot say I'm a Christian. And I have my individual mission inside the mission, I think. For example, the LGBTQA topics, because I try to open the mind of my colleagues as well, because, okay, it's another huge topic and we can discuss in the coffee break, but what we can offer, and I think it's very important that not only is to say that there are Christian communities where you can go and find new people, but for me it's really a strong faith that we need to offer to show other, for example, NGOs in around the countryside where they can just go in, drop in. These are drop-in centers, and just to get new contacts and not going back to the same peers where they came out from. And the second thing that what we face, that we do not want to hear from these teenagers any statement that I will not use anymore any drugs or something, because they are so young, they are curious, they want to maybe try things. So I don't want really, I can say to you by 1,000,000% honestly that I will be not more happy if someone say to me that I will not use drugs anymore. No, I'm happy if I hear that, honest words that, Timmy, maybe I will smoke a joint or not, but, I will think what I got here during the therapy. And I think I have tools in my backpack and what I can use to make maybe better decisions. So that's all. And the second question by the language, I did not exactly understand, but maybe if you start to answer, I will understand what was, honestly.
There's like, the thing I just noticed in Poland, I don't know how is it in other countries, but the majority rejecting Muslims or this or that. In news outlets, we can see that like 65% of Polish people doesn't want refugees in their country. 75, 85, 200%. I don't know, Polish people hate Muslims or this and that. But the reality, when I go on the field and in small, very small villages to the biggest cities, the reality is different in my opinion. And I mean, I can say, like, fingers crossing my heart, I have been in this and working like that for at least 10 years. I remember, like, being in the field of trying to integrate people and working with people. And in my opinion, the truth is that people are afraid, most of them, because they don't know Muslims personally, but they hear about them. But when there is this opportunity to talk and to know each other, there's tons of questions. Very often extremely stupid questions based on the stupidest things they can find on the internet about Muslims or this or that. But the most important thing is to talk with them and answer even the stupidest question, and because they might not have next opportunity to meet next Muslim in like 10 next years, who knows, right? But when you get face to face with people, they want to know, they want to meet you, they want to understand better, and this is that. Now, to answer the question, because we passed the point where we explain the majority and the thing. Now, how do I cope? Do you want to know my personal way? Okay, so basically, at some point of my life, I understood that not everyone will like me. It was not because I'm Muslim, but as a person, and I had to realize that forcing on people understanding of Islam or refugee crisis or my experience, forcing them and telling them, listen, you need to know what's going on, or you're a really bad person if you do not understand this or that. It's absolutely not the way. What I do is, if people hate me, that's fine. Okay, no problem for me at all. But even if they hate me, right, because I'm Muslim or I'm Chechen or I don't speak Polish language on the streets or this kind of stuff, different stuff happens. I'm open to answer the questions if they have. I'm open for a conversation. Sometimes it's no use because people will only want to beat the hell out of you, but it's sometimes. But the most often is if you just show them that you're not judging people who doesn't like you, and you're not judging them because they're afraid, and you're listen, okay, I understand you have problem with me, I don't have any quarrel with you, but if you want to talk, we can do that. I'm open for a conversation. And this is my way of coping with it. I mean, there are Muslims who hate Jews. There are Chechens who hate, I don't know, Russians. There are Russians who hate Chechens. There are Chinese who hate Japanese, and likewise. And in every nation and in every religion, like, you will find groups of people who will hate others for whatever reason they choose. So I can't comfort everyone, and I can't get along with everyone. After accepting that, it's so much easier to work on the matter. I just know that I just follow a few rules I made by myself, like through the years of working with people and through my experience. First of all, I do not judge. Second of all, I do not enforce discussion and any way like making people to know me or something like that. And they want to know me, I'm here, I'm open, I'm always ready to talk. There was some time ago, I met a friend, I met this one guy at some concert, and he was so, I was the first Muslim he ever met, and said, listen, I want to be in touch with you. Can we exchange phone numbers or something like that? So if I have a question, I can call you and you could explain me. I said, I'm no expert, but if you want, I will, through honestly and with my knowledge, answer anything you need. He was, it was, I believe, 4 a.m. He was high, and he called me Elsie, is it true that this and that? Dude, what time it is? It's 4 a.m. in the morning, but still, he was high, he was stoned, but he had this question, and I said, okay, let's answer his question. He will probably not remember even that he called, but I would like to use this opportunity to at least don't leave him hanging. So this kind of things happens, and I absolutely do not judge anyone, because sometimes people don't have any other source of knowing about some topic. There is this TVP station, TVP Info in Poland, which is now taken over by government, and it has reached to almost, I believe, every home in every place in Poland, because it's the most watched TV, and it's free, and it's basic. You have a television, you will have this channel and a few others. And this TVP Info station, it's for some time, I try to stay okay, let's give them a chance. Maybe there will be working different presenters, maybe there will be different points of view, but unfortunately, I can say with 100% being confident in it, this station is extremely anti-Muslim, and they're every time they we want to make a discussion about Islam, let's take experts, and somehow every of those experts are aggressive towards, hateful towards Islam, or not hateful but just stating the facts, and the facts are this and that. So this is the main source of information about Islam for many people. They don't have anything else. So when they have really stupid question, when they have they're aggressive, or this biased, even not knowing their bias, it's not their fault. So I just no judgment. Whatever question you have, I will try to answer as best as I can. That's my answer.
Thank you. And Timi, your personal way of coping with rejection?
I think I just thought that I imagined if I put out some words of Elsie's, then I can say the same, because I think probably we do practice the same things, and to talk and to be open and honest, even if these words are just, I don't know. So what I think that about majority, that 25 or 20 something years ago, my parents took me to one of the first drug ambulance called the drop-in center by car in the hidden street of my town when I was born, because she was afraid that if someone will see that we are going there, then she will be kicked out of her job. she will lose her job because of judging the family. So it was really like a taboo. And what I think I can say, it's a kind of success that year by year or decades, it is not a taboo anymore. And when I was using, it was more hidden thing also. That and now with these new drugs, day by day on the streets, on the center of the cities, happens something that these are very, very visible effects of these new drugs. And what is important, I think that because if it's visible, people have in their heads questions, and I think it's much more opportunity to speak about and to give answers, or just to think together. So maybe it's very, very simple and little thing, but I think it's very important that we can speak about this topic. And other thing is what I can also say, that I like to ask people about their lives, their behaviors, because I think it's really not important what is that thing which can make for me addiction, but how, that we say, not personally me not, but there are these 12 steps programs in all around the world, Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, and they count the days of sobriety just for today. So, they say how many, I don't know the days of my sobriety, but I was never good in mathematics, 21 years, and in 3rd of January I was my 21st sobriety birthday. And why I think it's important that I can ask that, how many days you haven't lied to anyone? Or how many days or hours or minutes you could forget what's going on Facebook? Or so a lot of things, or about porn or anything. So I think it's like a network, a lot of different addictive, I don't say addiction, but addictive things in our lives and in our society. So it's, I think, one of the hugest task to find our freedom. What does it mean for me, for you, for you?
Thank you very much, Timmy. Andrei, would you like to add some?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that Dennis, our shopkeeper, who is both Roma and Muslim, he's a Turkish Roma, and he says to all the customers that come in the shop, there are no stupid questions, only stupid answers. So,
Wonderful. Wonderful.
The humor is one of the best ways to coping with these kind of situations. Honestly, when people see like the distance, self-distance that I or other Muslims I know represent, and we crack jokes, and like they're so relaxed, and they know that they can, tension drops off, and like, okay, this dude is cool, he will not get angry if I ask a question or behave this and that way, and it's a very important part of this job.
Thanks a lot. Our time is over, so I have to say thank you to all three of you.
A pleasure.
I think this was wonderful introduction to the next part of our conference, because I think the main message from all what we were talking about right now was that how important is to talk. How important is to talk openly, not judging anybody before we start to talk. And I think this is the point. This is the point of why we are here. And this is something what everybody, each of us should think about. Myself, I mean, whether I'm behaving the way I would like to behave others towards myself. And yes, let's move forward. And thank you very much for your interesting questions and for your attention. And thank you very much for sharing with us your experience, your views, and your stories.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.